This is Nadeem with PCSN, and I've got Mack here, and it's Chat with Mack Friday.
It's Friday.
Yeah. So Mack, I see this beautiful. What is it? A painting behind you, or something?
Yeah, it's actually on a huge. I think it's about a 70-inch screen that this place has. They got a lot of beautiful knickknacks, and yeah, it's really nice.
Awesome. So, tell me, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about technology and conspiracy theories.
My favorite.
5G. Now, since the whole thing with COVID has started, you've heard all types of craziness. And one of the craziest things I have ever heard was that COVID was being spread by 5G waves. Now, I know for a lot of people, they're like, what does this have to do? It's a lot because it has to do with technology. Quite honestly, I use 5G internet at home via Verizon. Great speed. It's stable. It's actually pretty nice. And I think there was an article that I was reading. 5G is going to be probably what's going to be used for a lot of people that are working from home. And I think some offices are looking to do that. But that being said, it's crazy the amount of, I guess you can say, fear that people have with this new technology. I know you have a lot of insight on that.
I've talked to a few people who've had questions and concerns about 5G. Now, the article you referred to, was that the USA Today article?
Yes.
Okay, let me just put it up on the screen real quick. I think I can pull it up and share it. See if you see it.
I do.
Okay. Sure. So this is the article. Now, before we get into the details and the nitty-gritty of it, let me say this. Anytime technology changes, there is a certain percent of people in a society that will avoid it and avoid it like the plague.
Yeah.
This happened when we first switched from individual factories providing power to central power. This happened when we switched from the horse and buggy to automobile. This happened when we went from steam engines to diesel engines. It's going to happen every time. Every time there is a leap, there's going to be an element in society that is going to be against it. Now, I don't know if you recall, when cell phones first came out and took over the world, do you remember that fearmongering, that I think that study that people said came out of Switzerland, that it causes cancer, the cellular waves cause cancer?
Unfortunately, my mom bought into that. So yes, my late mom bought into that heavily. It was so crazy that she bought into it that she would not turn on her phone unless she had to use it. It was never on. That's how it got to her, that she felt that the cell waves are causing cancer.
So something close to home, when microwaves first came about, I think my mom's brother, so my uncle, he was against it. He was like, no, those microwaves are going to cause cancer. And now everybody's using it. For some reason, I mean, it's just a lack of understanding of technology. It's that, it's kind of like, 100 years ago, the lack of understanding of technology, we would have just called it magic. So we've kind of progressed from that because, a lot of people now understand that, oh, yeah, that's hocus pocus, it's all bogus. But now that, the human mind has to accommodate for the unknown somehow. So now they kind of, come up with these theories. So anyway, so one of the interesting questions that I had not too long ago, and this was a call that came in. I remember I was laying in bed, so it came in from overseas somewhere, and it's daytime over there. So the question became that why in the U.S. It wasn't a question. It was more of a comment that the US government is trying to control people. That's why they're putting antennas on school buildings. Interesting. I never thought of it that way, but I was like, well, that's, I can see where you can kind of think that. So, and they were like, well, because, and they said that's the reason behind 5G is to control people. And I'm like, okay, now do you understand the frequencies and, basically radio frequency to kind of try to understand why we need more antennas? Because their main thing was, why are we putting antennas on every building we can find, public buildings, schools, whatever? So I explained to them that the 5G frequency is different than, like, the 2.4 gigahertz or whatever, and how it carries a lot more data. In other words, it has more bandwidth, but it does not travel very far. So we have to accommodate for that by adding more antennas.
Yep.
So, if one frequency can go, let's say, 10 kilometers, well, this newer frequency that we're using now can carry a lot more data, but it can only go 2 or 3 kilometers. So now we need more antennas to cover that distance. And that's why we're deploying more antennas. And I said, and I tried to explain to them, and I don't know if it's true or not that school buildings have these antennas, but I haven't looked into that. But I was like, even if the school buildings do, I can see why, and that would be because school buildings are probably public buildings. They're owned by the state or somebody, and so the antenna, the company that's providing the antenna may not have to pay rent on that antenna like they do if it was on private property. And those antennas get expensive. I mean, like I remember back in the day when the regular cellular, was taking off, and there were companies that would pay rent to put an antenna in private property.
I worked for
and it was
like
a lucrative business to be in. If you have a small patch of land, you could make a lot of money just because of this antenna being there. So I was like, okay, it makes sense that these companies would start placing antennas on public buildings and public, places where they can get, either low rent or no rent type situation and still be able to cover the area they want to cover with this frequency. Basically, what 5G is a way to carry more bandwidth. That's all it is, over the air, and that's the difference. Now, think of it this way. Right now, you have some sort of broadband connection at home. A lot of people have that, either, cable or fiber or whatever you have. Think of it. What if your cell phone had the same amount of bandwidth capability? So in other words, your cell phone was just as fast as your fiber connection at the house. How will it transform the world? That's where we're getting into.
Yes.
That's where we're getting into. Okay, so it was like, first it was like we were running out of IPv4s. Okay, start implementing IPv6. Now we can have an IP address for every device out there. Next thing is going to be broadband speeds over the air on cellular, and that's that's the big thing. Now, why do we need that? Well, simple. Pretty much every device that we use in a, we touch about 5 to 6 different devices that have some sort of broadband connection. Of course, our cell phones, our tablets, a lot of computers now have built-in radios, so you can use those. Cars have connectivity built in now. A lot of cars come with it built in. Not for just remote diagnostics, but like you use the SOS button, and that SOS for a lot of cars actually goes over that cellular.
That OnStar, right?
Well, OnStar is different. So OnStar uses satellite. So
that's right. That's right.
But a lot of cars use cellular. So now OnStar, I don't know if you know this, but GM basically owns OnStar. And so they license it to other companies. So other companies can sub-license it from GM and use it, build it into their cars and rebrand it and sell it as some sort of OnStar alternative.
Right.
However, there are other companies that provide solely cellular capability. Now, so there's pros and cons to both those type of situations. But the thing is, a lot of devices out there nowadays are active. They have access to the internet, and we don't have enough bandwidth left on the cellular frequencies to be able to handle all the devices that we anticipate. We're not talking about linear growth here. We're talking about exponential growth here.
Yeah.
So it just, I mean, there is just no way, and that's why we see companies trying to push more satellites into orbit for better coverage. 5G coming into play. So multiple technologies trying to fill that gap. Who's going to be the winner? 5G is one of those standards that I think has great potential to cover that that space. And so right now, I work with all kinds of different devices, and so Microsoft sent me, I'm talking on Microsoft Surface Pro. So Microsoft sent me the Surface Pro. I don't even remember why, but anyway, so I kind of see the experience. I mean, the experience on the Surface Pro is not as good as I see it on my, like, for example, iPad or even iPhone.
Oh, wow.
Now you can get the Surface with a built-in cellular capability, so it's always connected. But I think the problem is the OS is not designed to be always connected, and that's kind of like what's kind of holding it back. So maybe it's got to be back to the drawing board or something. Just bolt-on components just don't work very well. But there, now if you switch over to an iPad or an Android tablet, that experience is much better.
Yes.
Connectivity is more seamless. You don't have to worry about it. It just works. So, and I think that's the future. I don't think anybody can get away from not using these. I mean, how are you going to avoid it? It's in the air, I mean, what are you going to do? Wear a tinfoil? I mean, wear a tinfoil hat, I guess. But no, it's nothing. I mean, there's been a lot of studies, and and I'm thinking of something here. And I don't know if you recall, it tried to be a conspiracy theory, but it didn't take off. Do you remember the power lines that are up on poles?
Yeah, that was another one.
And the magnetic field around them that was gonna make everybody impotent or something, So people are still having babies, right?
Right.
So the thing is, nothing has been proven. There have been several studies, and when you dig into the data, there is no correlation between certain diseases or certain issues with frequencies, microwaves, magnetic fields. There hadn't been any correlation there. Now, having said that, even if there was correlation, and this is, I know a lot of people don't like to get into this area, but even if there was a correlation, there is a thing about balancing quantity with quality. At some point, you got to balance quantity with quality. Now, do you want to live forever, or do you want to live for a few years but have a great living experience? So now, if it was me, and I was going to live 100 years, or somebody says, well, okay, you're only going to live 90 years, but then you can use this 5G technology. I think I would happily give away the 10 years because that's going to be towards the end of my life anyway. They're going to suck anyway. but but I'd rather have that better connected experience and give away a few years of my life. However, in this case, that is not, that's not an issue because so far all the studies that have been done, it's been proven that there is no correlation between diseases and radio frequency. Now, people, listen, radio frequency cannot create a virus.
Oh my God! Please tell them again. Jeez.
COVID, that pandemic, it's a virus. It's not a bacterium. It's a virus. And the reason I say it's not a bacterium is I got another thing somebody sent me that said that, COVID-19 scientists figured out is not really a virus, it's a bacteria. And I'm like, okay, 100 years ago when we didn't have the technology to see this stuff, actually see it, I can see how people can get confused. In this day and age, there's really no room for getting confused. We can actually throw it under an electron microscope and see what it is. We know what it is. It's like, come on, people. Anyway, so these conspiracy theories, as long as humans are around, we're going to have these. Every time there is a jump in technology, we see this. Just like going from ice cars to electric cars, that same thing. And I talk to people. By the way, internal combustion engine, ICE, internal combustion engine. So going, and I have conversations with people, and I don't have an electric car myself. I mean, I drive a big diesel truck, but I'm not opposed to electric vehicles. I understand the technology, and I can see how an electric motor is much more efficient compared to any internal combustion engine we have created, bar none. They're just more efficient. So, and so people ask me sometimes, okay, well, Nadeem, when are you going to get your Tesla Cybertruck? And I'm like, never. So and the reason I say never is it's not that I don't like that technology or I don't trust that technology or, something like that. The technology is not there yet. Let me explain. So I have a 60-gallon auxiliary fuel tank on my truck. Combine that with the factory fuel tank, I can go over 1,000 miles in one fill up. It takes me maybe 10 minutes, if that, to fill up all my tanks. So 10 minutes refueling, I can go over 1,000 miles. Now, if I had that Cybertruck, how long would I have to plug it in to charge it to go 1,000 miles? I mean, we're running into some physics limitations. How fast can you pump these electrons through a wire without melting that wire? I mean,
that's a good point.
So we run into some physics issues. So until technology catches up, I'm going to be in an internal combustion engine. That doesn't mean that I might not have like a toy, just to play around with, and I'm getting some push from, from people that I should get a Tesla car or something and just to hack it, play with it, tweak it and stuff like that. But I'm trying to not go there. I'd rather play with motorcycles. But the bottom line is, every time there is a leap in technology, a change in technology, inherently humans are technology averse. Actually, not technology averse. We are change averse.
That's it right there.
So we are change averse. So every time there is something that's changing, there's a big segment of us that avoid that don't. I mean, so like you and me, we're not technology averse. And we may not be change averse when it relates to technology, but we are change averse in other areas, in other things.
That's true.
And it's just like that, it's like somebody saying, well, you've been eating meat. Well, here, try asparagus. Nah, I don't want hairspray. You know, it's just changed. It might even taste better. I don't know. I mean, unless I've had it, how would I know?
That's true.
You know, so it's just that change. Um, but bottom line, 5G is here to stay. We don't have anything viable, anything that is at that cost level that's viable that we can put into place other than 5G. 5G is here. There is nothing else that companies are working on it, but we don't have a good alternative other than 5G. Now, here comes the next big thing. Wearable technology. So, let me throw a scenario here. Let's say the entire planet is covered with 5G coverage. You can go anywhere in the remotest place and you have 5G coverage. Now, let's say we have wearable tech that is always connected. So, for example, the clothes you're wearing, they are intelligent. You know, they can sense temperature changes, they can heat or cool you, they can do certain things proactively for you. They can report your vitals back to maybe your doctors or your central repository where you keep your health information, so you can analyze the data, or the data can be automatically analyzed, and if there is a spike or a change somewhere, the system can alert you. Think of it, like you're wearing pants, and these are intelligent pants, and your leg gets cut off. The pants know your leg got cut off. It will automatically squeeze to stop blood flow. It will automatically do certain things. I mean, the possibilities. I mean,
The possibilities, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's just if we have that connectivity and that gobs of bandwidth and connectivity, and 5G is going to get us there. It's kind of like right now when you are updating. If you have a car that, and I'm not going to name any names, but if you have a car that automatically gets firmware updates, a lot of these cars will not do firmware updates over the air just because it's going to take so long for the car to download and then apply the update. The car will update firmware if it is parked, let's say, at your house and connected to Wi-Fi, then it will get the updates and apply them because it's much faster. Now, if that car had 5G and it didn't matter where the car was, it can get that firmware. We have the tech where we can update firmware on the fly without shutting the system down. We can do that. We can apply updates without shutting the system down. Not in Windows, maybe, but we have operating systems that can do that, right? So that's the thing, is if we have access to all that bandwidth, then we can do certain things better, and ultimately that translates to just a better life for everybody. That's what it translates to.
Funny. I like I said at the beginning, I tried out Verizon. The company was giving away a trial for 3 months. Their 5G technology, 5G home internet. Initially, I didn't really have a lot of high expectations for it. I'm like, it's really cell technology that they're using. But I have to tell you, I have been very impressed by the speeds. The speeds have been absolutely blazing. And all they really did was they have a hub that they put in the back. Of course, they do their thing to find out where their strongest signal is, but they have a hub that's almost similar to a satellite antenna. It's just a little bit. It's really small, and that's all. And then I have my modem in a house, and when I tell you, that thing is something else. It's like you say. I wouldn't be surprised if companies kind of get away from, and you can really correct me if I'm wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if companies begin to kind of shy away from the cable and fiber optic internet and probably go the way of 5G. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Well, it is already being built in. So if you get voice services on, for example, your Comcast circuit, they are now giving you cellular backup for that.
Really?
So you have fiber from Comcast, but if you have voice service along with that, they're giving you they're replacing that modem, and that modem they give you has a failover cellular backup. So so the technology is already being embedded into devices now, and it's only a matter of time that, think of it this way. I mean, the infrastructure requirement to run fiber is so high. If we can replace that physical pipe with something we can do over the air, it just changes the game. I
Yeah.
mean, how are companies going to compete who are out there digging and laying fiber, pipes and stuff like that? There is no competition anymore. I mean, and that's the thing is, I think a lot of companies realize that 5G is the way to go. I mean, it just every time technology changes, it gives you something. Either it gives you a lot more bandwidth, or it reduces your cost. One or the other, right? Otherwise, we won't switch, right? So so in this situation, 5G is giving us a lot of bandwidth, and it's also saving the providers a lot of money not having to maintain that infrastructure. Think about it this way. If you have a fiber and somebody's digging outside your building and cuts that fiber, well, you're down.
Uh, yeah, that's
You know,
happened.
there is no cutting 5G. I mean,
Yeah,
unless somebody blows up an antenna,
that's the only way. Yeah.
so it just makes sense. Conspiracy theories are always going to be there. We can't get around them. But if let's see what this article says a little bit. So
Sure.
they're talking about Wi-Fi via a broadband connection. Um, and okay, they make a good point. Like especially in this day and age where a lot of people are working from home, just regular old cellular service may not work very well because you're just consuming a lot more data. Like I know a lot of the meetings that we're doing online, a lot of that is done from people's phones, handhelds, tablets,
Hmm.
whatever have you, and sometimes you can kind of see that there is a bandwidth constraint. You can kind of see that in the video. So I think it's we're going to need more bandwidth. I mean, the world needs more bandwidth. There's no question about that. And 5G is what we have right now.
Well, to
So
your point,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but to your point, as far as more bandwidth, I don't know if you heard this, but Samsung already has a white paper that lays out their vision for 6G communication technology. Now, they're already working on 6G, go figure.
Yeah.
And they called it I think they call it the next hyper connected experience for all, but it's some far out stuff. I mean, it was almost when I was reading it, I was like, my God, this reminds me of Star Trek. I mean, it was just really, I mean, I got excited because I love that stuff, but down the pipe, I wouldn't be surprised 5 years from now. Now we move on from 5G to 6G, just like we moved from CDMA GSM technology to I think it was 3G, then 3G to 4G, and here we are with 5.
Yeah, and it's not just Samsung, right? So pretty much every company out there in the skunk, they have something like this, that they're working in this, in their Skunk Works labs. So I mean, and that's how 5G came about, and that's how 4G came about, and before that, that's how 3G came about.
Yep.
Because when we were still playing around with GSM, somebody was working on 3G.
Yep.
When we were messing around on 3G, somebody was already working on 4G.
Yeah.
So they have to be working on whatever the next technology is now, so that later on it becomes available. I mean, it'll be interesting to like it'll be so much fun to work on something like this in a lab, where we were developing new technology that the general public didn't have any clue about. Kind of like the other day I gave you the example of that guy talking to the one of the manufacturers, test pilots on this truck, where he was telling them how great this 6-speed transmission was, and the guy didn't know that the undercover truck that the other guy was driving, the pilot was driving, had a 10-speed transmission in it, but he couldn't tell him. He was just listening to him with a straight face. And it was only after it was released, the guy, they talked again, and he told him that, oh, by the way, when you stopped me and you were talking about how great the 6-speed is, I had the 10-speed that I was driving that day. And that's how technology works. So folks, the 5G is nothing to be scared
No.
about. It's just radio frequency, just like 4G, 3G, and walkie-talkie before that. It's all just radio frequency. That's all it is.
Shortwave radio, all that other good stuff.
Yeah,
man.
yeah, and as far as magnetic fields and stuff, don't read too much into that. If you are so concerned about magnetic field, all the conspiracy theorists out there, did you know that the rubber around your fridge, that seal, has a little magnet in it? Yeah, all that food that you're putting in your fridge. Now, I'm wondering how much spoiled food we're gonna have in the next few months. No, but really, it's we always kind of weigh the pros and cons. All these conspiracy theorists who say this technology is so bad, eventually they will learn that it's really not that bad. And it's like the magnetic field. A lot of people were saying, oh yeah, those high the high current power lines generate a magnetic field around them. Yeah, but they're like what, 30, 40 feet up in the air, and that magnetic field, that is the magnet that's in your fridge seal, the rubber seal in the door, that is so close to you. So think about that. That is, you're right there next to it. but anyway, so in my experience, it's just what makes us human. We are always going to be concerned about things we don't understand. But as far as 5G goes, I'm not worried. There's nothing to worry about. The reason there's more antennas is because the frequency that it runs on the wavelength is not very long. It's a short wavelength, so it doesn't travel very far. So you need repeaters, which is antennas. You need antennas to get that signal farther out. It's not a big, it's not a conspiracy to control our kids or anything like that. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just a shorter wavelength. So there it is. So anyway, Mack, what do you have planned for the weekend?
I have not a lot, to be totally honest with you. I'm going to be, we're doing some new initiatives here. And oh, by the way, sidebar, ladies and gentlemen, next Tuesday, you're going to want to hear what Nadeem has to say about security. I've called a whole bunch of you, and if you haven't clicked on the link and register, please, over the weekend, do that. It's going to be awesome. Nadeem always had some tremendous insight as far as security, and we need it more than ever now. So I know a bunch of you have emails that you've gotten from me, calls. If you haven't received or even looked at any of those, look at the Magnolia Chamber of Commerce. You will see the webinar regarding cybersecurity in COVID times, and please register for that. Outside of that, I'm going to be, just looking at the videos that I've been looking at. I'm actually going to be studying, and I wanted to tell you about this. I'm pretty sure you know about this. Nikola, that hydrogen truck that they're building. I want to, find out a little bit more about it. It's been interesting. It's like they're supposed to be the competitor to Tesla. So going to be nerdy.
But, and there's been a lot of companies out there that have experimented with hydrogen. hydrogen solves one problem, but then it creates another. Now you need an infrastructure for this refueling.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, it solves the problem of emissions, but it introduces another problem. And do you really want to be near a gas station that has a tank full of hydrogen? Well, I mean, we're always in a gas station that has a tank full of very highly flammable liquid, but hey, um, but I think the issue is going to be we will have to build that infrastructure to get that hydrogen delivered to places where the consumers can consume it, and I don't think it's just not gonna work. Cost slash feasibility is just not going to be there. It has to be something more. It has to be now. If we had something that would capture the energy from the sun and not need refueling, yeah, but and I can see the case for electric cars as well, purely electric cars. And that is, if you're going to work and coming back home, when you're at home you plug it in your car, and then there's a solution there, right? You come home, you plug it in the morning, it's fully charged, and you can go. And that works great for some people. The reason it doesn't work for me is because I go out into remote areas sometimes, and a lot of times I don't have access to a lot of power. I mean, my only power might be a little generator, and I can't charge. I mean, I can't sit there for a month trying to charge my truck just so I can get back home. So I have a different problem, but for if I was working from an office and all I had to do was from home go to my office and then come back home, I would gladly get some purely electric car that I can just drive there. I mean, it'll be good torque, it'll be instant torque, it'll be zero emissions. I mean, it'll just be a good experience. And then when my neighbor in his in his Charger Hellcat, wants to race me, I can just put it into ludicrous mode, right? But no. So yeah, 5G is here to stay. As far as the webinar, so I'm gonna close with this. In this security webinar, I'm gonna give you one thing you can implement that's gonna take care of your security headaches. Now, when I tell you what it is, it's going to click with you. It's going to make sense. I can't believe a lot of, why nobody has come to me and said, hey, Nadeem, we are protecting, these different avenues of attack, but why are we not protecting this glaring hole right here? So if you haven't registered, register for the webinar. And you're gonna love it. It's gonna be fun, and and I enjoy these webinars, and we always have a question and answer towards the end.
Yeah.
So we'll have a question and answer, and we'll have some fun. So that's it for today, folks. Already took a lot of time. Thanks a lot for being with us, and until next Friday, Mack, have a good day. I'll probably talk to you before then, but have a good day, and have fun watching those videos that you're watching. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.